Everybody, welcome back to the Nourish and Thriving Show. I'm your host, Katie Loveitt, and I am really excited about today's conversation. I hope you guys are as well. I don't know if you guys knew that. Well, you all knew this because it was in the description if you read it. Today, I have a very special guest who is with us. And we are going to have a really awesome conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it as well. Kevin, do you want to bring her onto the screen? Okay, not yet, he says. Well, so Dr. Dustin is in the chat. Let me just say hi to some of these people who are coming here. Keith. Hey, guys. Hey, Chris. Hey, everybody. Let's see. We good? We're good. Okay. Don't y'all love technology?
I've got you coming here in just a second. I'm sizing her up.
Awesome. Good. Thanks.
Doctor, can you hear us?
Awesome.
Let's see if I can bring you up just a little bit louder.
What have y'all been up to today while we wait? I've been at a conference all day learning, which is really nice to be able to do. Whenever you pour out to everybody all the time, it's really nice to be able to just sit back and learn and soak some new information up. I learned some really cool things actually that I'm excited to bring into my practice. Let's see.
All right, I think we're good to go.
All right.
Let's try and split you guys and Cabal. Doctor, can you hear us?
Technology.
We can barely hear you. Hold on real quick.
Let's see. Oh, let me turn my speakers off. Let's see. Kevin, is it something on?
I'm double checking our end.
I don't hear in my headphones.
I could hear it just barely though.
Okay.
Okay. Could you mic check me one more time?
Oh,
Is that better?
yes.
Much better.
That's
There we
so
go.
much better. Yay.
Okay. All right.
Wonderful. We're good to go. Okay. I'm going to introduce you. We have a guest. Yay. Thanks everyone for your patience. Thank you, Dr. Debi, for your patience. So our guest this evening is Dr. Debi Silber. She's a holistic psychologist and founder of the Post Betrayal Transformation Institute, or PBT Institute. She's a y'all, she's so impressive. 2-time #1 international best-selling author. About to be three-time, right? Soon. Don't want to spill the beans yet. Who has spent years studying how betrayal affects us and how people actually heal from it. So today we're diving into a topic that touches so many lives, but it isn't talked about enough. A lot of the time people they're not even able to recognize that that's what it is, I don't think. But we're going to be talking about it, and it's betrayal, what it is, how it impacts us physically and emotionally and mentally and in all the ways, and what it actually takes to heal and to move through it. So Dr. Debi developed a research-based 5-stage model of healing that helps people move from shock and pain into transformation. And this isn't just theory. This isn't just like woo-woo, emotional feeling stuff. It's really grounded in research, which is it's really cool, y'all. Real experience, real transformation. And then towards the end of the show, make sure you guys stay because we're going to talk about some practical steps that you guys can take. What keeps people stuck, and then how you can begin to move forward in your own life. So welcome, Dr. Debi Silber, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Looking forward to our conversation.
It's going to be good. So for those who are not familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you into betrayal specifically, into this area?
Yeah, you don't think I just like the topic of betrayal? No, you study because you have to. So I'm in business 34 years. Health, mindset, personal development. I was a holistic nutritionist, MSRD, whole health coach, functional diagnostic nutritionist. Then I had a really painful betrayal, first from my family. So I thought I did all I needed to do to heal from that. And then it happened again a few years later. This time it was my husband. That was the deal breaker. Anybody who's been through it, you're shocked, you're blindsided, you're devastated. So I got him out of the house and I looked at the two experiences thinking, what's similar to these two? Of course, me, but what else? And I realized it was like I never took my needs seriously. Boundaries were always getting crossed. And I'm one of those people that really believes if nothing changes, nothing changes. So usually I would go to books or courses or mentors to help me heal. And there really wasn't anything available. And this was so big that I needed to sort of learn my way out of it. So big. So here I was, 4 kids, 6 dogs, a thriving practice. And I find myself enrolling in a PhD program. Maybe not what everybody would do coming off of a betrayal, but I don't know. I felt just like that's what I needed to do. And I needed to study betrayal. And I remember thinking, I have no idea if and how I can heal from this, but if I can, I'm taking everybody with me. And then it was time to do a study. So I studied betrayal. And honestly, I studied it so I could be better for my kids. I could be there for my clients. Well, that study led to 3 groundbreaking discoveries, which changed my health, my work, my family, my life.
Wow. That's so powerful. And I love that. I love kind of taking the ashes of, a really significant couple of significant, griefs and betrayals and heartaches and building something beautiful that is going to help, thousands, if not tens or hundreds or millions of people. I think I've experienced, really profound loss in my life. I don't know if it would qualify as a betrayal or not. We'll talk about that, here in a minute. And that was my, not immediate desire, but within the first couple of weeks of it happening was, I really want to use this to somehow help other people, like make something good come out of this loss. So I'm really inspired by you and by your work and your journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to share the discoveries if that would serve.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and go into that? What those discoveries were
Sure.
that you learned? Awesome.
Yeah. So the first was that betrayal is a different type of trauma that needs a different way to heal. And if you've been through other traumas, you know this. I had been through death of a loved one. I'd been through disease, and I was like, betrayal feels different for me. I didn't want to assume it was the same for everyone in my study. So I asked them, if you've been through other traumas besides betrayal, does it feel different for you too? And unanimously, they said it's so different. And here's why. Because it feels so intentional, we take it so personally. So, when you think about it, if you lose someone you love, you grieve, you're sad, you mourn the lost life will never be the same. But you don't go back and question that relationship. You don't question your ability to trust. You don't question your sanity. With betrayal, you do. There's such a shattering of the self, rejection, abandonment, belonging, confidence, worthiness, trust. Again, if you lose someone you love, those kind of stay intact. But what's even more different about it is, think about it. Let's take losing someone you love. People rally, what do you need? Take the time you need. But so often with betrayal, there's so much shame and embarrassment and humiliation. So the person who's been betrayed, as if it had anything to do with them, which it doesn't, struggles and suffers in silence. And then to make it worse, let's say it's a relational betrayal. Very often the betrayer is so well loved by the family, the community, the friends, the whoever. So they sort of take this on and take the heat, to spare the betrayer from the backlash. So think about, here you've had a complete and total shattering of your heart, of your trust, and you're supposed to act like everything's fine. It's like a random Tuesday and your kids are like, what's for dinner, mom? And you're like, well, my whole life just imploded. So it's a completely different type of trauma that needs a totally different way to heal.
Yeah.
That was the first discovery.
That's powerful in and of itself.
That is.
What's the next one? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and even with that, I'll save the trust piece for a little bit. So the second discovery was that there's actually a collection of symptoms, physical, mental, and emotional, so common to betrayal. It's now known as Post-Betrayal Syndrome. Well, we've tested over 100,000 people to see to what extent they're struggling. And a couple of things about that. We've all heard time heals all wounds, right? I have the proof that when it comes to betrayal, that's not true. There's a question on the assessment that says, is there anything else you'd like to share? And people write things like, my betrayal happened 35 years ago. I'll never trust again. My betrayal happened 15 years ago. Feels like it happened yesterday. So we know we can't count on time. We can't even count on a new relationship to heal it. Healing needs to be deliberate and intentional. And I'm happy to share some of the stats if you want to hear it.
I'd love to.
Okay, because that'd be an awkward moment if you said no.
No, okay. No, I'd love to hear these numbers.
And I'm a stats guy myself, so I'm very interested.
You're going to love this. Okay, so now imagine over 100,000 people, men, women, just about every country is represented. Ready? As much as you're going to hear these symptoms, hear these numbers. 78% constantly revisit their experience. 81% feel a loss of personal power. Think about, if you have a loss of personal power, what will you allow? What will you tolerate? What won't you do? Right? 80% are hypervigilant. That's exhausting. 94% deal with painful triggers. If you've ever had a trigger, you know how hard they are. These are the most common physical symptoms. 71% have low energy. 68% have sleep issues. 63% have extreme fatigue. Your adrenals have tanked. 47% have weight changes. So maybe in the beginning, you can't hold food down. Later on, you're using food for comfort. You're emotionally eating. So here's the most well-meaning, amazing health expert is working with someone on emotional eating. And if they don't know there's a betrayal at the root of it, right? 45% of everybody betrayed has a gut issue of some kind. Crohn's, IBS, diverticulitis, you name it. So, think about what the gut does. Absorbs, digests, and processes food. Right? Isn't a betrayal, difficult to absorb, digest, and process.
Oh, yeah.
I even, and I have a quick story. I want to keep going with that, but we had a woman in her mid 80s and she had a 70+ year digestive issue from a family betrayal. She was adopted. They didn't tell her. It was like something like that. So 70 plus years, you can imagine the protocols, the medicine, the supplements, the food, the everything. 2 weeks in our program, she healed from a 70 plus year digestive issue. That's what happens when you deal with the root cause, the actual problem, and not
so
the
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the most common mental symptoms, 78% are overwhelmed, 62% can't concentrate. So imagine you can't concentrate, you have a gut issue, you're exhausted. You know, life goes on. You still have to go to work, you still have to raise your kids, deal with elderly parents. That's not even emotionally. Emotionally, 88% experience extreme sadness. 83% are very angry. I'm going to skip a bunch. Just a few more. This one killed me. 84% have an inability to trust. If you can't trust, think about what that'll do for future relationships, self-trust, all of it, right? 67% prevent themselves from forming deep relationships because they're afraid of being hurt again. The big wall goes up, right? They keep out the bad ones, but they keep out the good ones too. 82% find it hard to move forward. 90% want to move forward, but they don't know how. And what's even more staggering about what I just shared, you didn't hear me say 20%, 30%. These numbers are super high.
80, yeah.
They're all, right? They're also not representative of a recent betrayal. This could be from the parent who did something awful when you were a kid. This could be from the partner who broke your heart in high school. So that person may not know, care, remember. They may not even be alive. And here we are decades later with these symptoms because of what was left unhealed. The good news is you could heal from all of it. That was the third discovery.
Yeah, that's the great news. I'm glad that you went ahead and added that third discovery there at the end instead of waiting to add it in a minute, because that's important. There's hope. Yeah. You know, at the end of that dark tunnel, there is hope.
There's, more than hope. It's predictable. And, you know, that's the thing, because what happens is people medicate and suppress those symptoms thinking that they're not related, or thinking, oh, it's just due to aging. Oh, it's just due to stress, especially if it happened a long time ago. No, it is directly tied to that betrayal, no matter how long ago it happened. Want me to get to the third discovery?
Let's pause on the third discovery for a second before we get into it. I want to hang on to this like heavy betrayal part for just a minute. Yeah. It sounds like I have a question. I have a selfish like follow-up question about it that was just in my mind whenever you were talking about, you know, all of these numbers. Is it sounds like the person's entire identity for themselves and the world and the framework in which the world exists is shattered. Is that, would you say that's true?
It is totally true, and it's specific to a certain stage. That's what the third discovery was about.
Okay.
You're so right. Now, and I'm happily going to get into the stages, but you know, when you think of that worldview, it's based on our ability to trust. Like, this is the person we trusted the most. This is the person we run to when other people are causing harm, and that's become the person causing the harm. You know, it's like, so everything is like, what we don't feel safe.
Right.
We don't feel comfortable. And when it comes to trust, and this is, you know, and that's why I wrote Unstuck, you know, my most recent book. It's for practitioners, because there are the most well-meaning, amazing coaches, practitioners, therapists, and they may say, like with trust, for example, and I wrote the book Trust Again, so I know about trust. They may say something like, you know, start with a low stakes thing, like start like say something to a friend, a close friend, and it's well-meaning. That's one of the last places we need to look, because think about this. We're so sad and so like afraid and traumatized and everything from the person we trusted the most. It's like they've taken a mask off, right? But what's even worse, and this is the part that doesn't get recognized, 4 types of trust have been shattered. One of the ones that dismantle us the most is we have our own sort of system of deciding if someone is trustworthy. Like if they show up a certain way, you know, 100 times, 200 times, whatever, and they're consistent and it's repetitive, I can at some point decide, yep, they've gotten my stamp of approval. They are trustworthy. We have our own system, whatever that is. And then we give our trust to that person. So when that person betrays us, yes, it's a hard thing to understand. But what's even worse is we look at it saying, my system that I've created to determine trustworthiness is fundamentally flawed. I can't trust my own system. I can't trust myself. So trusting in another person, I can't even trust in my own system. Do you see?
Can't trust in myself and my decision-making abilities. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's backwards in how it's taught, and it's no one's fault. This stuff isn't taught. That's why I'm teaching.
Before we move on to the third discovery, can you define betrayal for everyone watching? I don't know if people may not think of it as the same.
I define it as the breaking of a spoken or unspoken rule. And every relationship has them. And the way it works is the more we trust, the more we depend on that person, the deeper the betrayal. So, for example, a child who's totally dependent on their parent and the parent does something awful, that's going to have a different level of impact than, let's say, your best friend sharing your secret, your coworker taking credit for your idea. Still betrayals, different level of cleanup left in the wake.
Wow. Got it. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
All right. What was that third discovery?
Yeah. So the third, for me, this was the most exciting. And what we learned was, while we can stay stuck for years, decades, a lifetime, and so many people do, if we're going to fully heal, we're going to move through 5 proven, predictable stages. And what's even more exciting about that is we know what happens physically, mentally, and emotionally at every stage. We even know the language of every stage. And we know what we need to do in order to move from one stage to the next. Healing's entirely predictable. And happy to share the stages. I mean, this is all we do in our certification program. It's what I write all about in Unstuck. Happy to share them briefly if you want to hear.
Yes, please share. But we'd love to hear those 5 stages of healing. Thank you.
So, and I want everybody to know, they're going to know exactly where they are, or someone you love. Like, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can see it so clearly. So stage 1, this is actually before it happens. And if you can imagine 4 legs of a table, the 4 legs being physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, what I saw with everybody, me too, was a heavy lean on the physical and mental thinking and doing, and kind of neglecting or ignoring the emotional and the spiritual. And if a table only has 2 legs, it's easy to topple over, right? That's us. And here's the thing. When we think we're in a healthy relationship, we're not, because everybody's like, how did I not see? How did I not know? You weren't scanning for betrayal. You were in what you thought was a healthy relationship. So you're not looking for it. You're not scanning for it. It's only in hindsight do you look back and you can see some of these things. We also, and I've seen this 1,000 times, our intuition is saying something to us and we kind of turn it down. And this happens so often. And instead of being upset and angry at yourself that maybe you have done this or someone has done this, we do this for, there are a few reasons. One is, if we pay attention to what our intuition is telling us, it's going to be an avalanche, right? We're going to then have to, everything changes. We've created, these are my people, this is where I go, this is my family, this is all my stuff, this is right. And if we pay attention to what we think is going on and have that big confrontation, it all unravels. It's like, if you ever see where there's like a thread hanging from a sweater, and sometimes you're like, I don't know if I should pull that because the whole thing may come down. So if this is what someone has done, we do this for specific reasons. Maybe you didn't have the physical, mental, emotional, financial bandwidth to take that on. And so, you turn the intuition down either way. And you see it in hindsight so clearly. Stage 2, shock, trauma, D-Day, discovery day. This is the scariest of all of the stages. And this is what you were referring to. This is the breakdown of the body, the mind, the worldview. So right here, we've ignited the stress response. We are headed for every single stress-related symptom, illness, condition, disease. The mind, complete state of chaos and overwhelm. We cannot understand what we just learned. And our worldview, we mentioned worldview. Our worldview is shattered. The bottom has bottomed out on us, and a new bottom hasn't been formed yet. This is terrifying. But think about it. If the bottom were to bottom out on you, what would you do? You grab hold of anything or anyone. right? In order to stay safe and stay alive. That's stage 3. Survival instincts emerge. This is the most practical out of all of the stages. If you can't help me get out of my way, how do I survive this? Who can I trust? Here's what happens though. Stage 3, by far, hands down, is the most common place we get stuck. And you know so many people in stage 3. Here's why. Once we figured out how to survive our experience, because it feels so much better than the shock and trauma we just came from, we think it's good, right? And because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we don't know there's a stage 4 or stage 5. Transformation doesn't even begin until stage 4. But because we don't know there's anywhere else to go, we plant roots here. We're not supposed to. And then 4 things start to happen. The first thing is we start getting all those small self benefits. We get to be right. We get our story. We love our story, you know. We get someone to blame. We don't have to do the hard work of learning to trust again. Can I trust you? Should I trust you? Forget it. I'm not trusting anybody, you know. So we plant deeper roots. And now because we're here longer than we should be, now the mind starts doing things like, you know, maybe you're not that great. Maybe it was you. Maybe this, maybe that. So we plant deeper roots. And now because these are the thoughts we're thinking, this is the energy we start putting out. Like energy attracts like energy. So now we have new situations, new experiences, new relationships that confirm this is where we belong. Here's where repeat betrayal happens, right? Here's where we join that lame support group and we found our people. So we actually sabotage ourselves because we found our people. You know, here's where we go to well-meaning, well-intentioned therapist, counselor, but they're not highly skilled in betrayal. So you feel heard and validated and understood. And you're like, why am I not getting better? It's like crazy glue for stage 3, you know? Here's where people sabotage their healing because they're afraid to outgrow the betrayer, right? And also, you know, we've built this functional life, but it's functional behind walls. It's safe, but it's flat, you know? And it takes a lot of courage to move to stages 4 and 5. But anyway, we're so miserable in stage 3, but we're like, I got to get through my day. You know, what do I do? So right here, we start numbing, avoiding, distracting. So we start using food, drugs, alcohol.
Stage 3 or stage 4 where you start
stage 3. Okay. Yeah, we're still in stage 3.
Oh, got it.
We're so unhappy. It's so miserable. We're medicating and suppressing symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome. We're having repeat experiences. Nothing's changing, so nothing's changing. And we're like, I need to just get through my day. We're surviving. For sure, we're not thriving. So now we start numbing, avoiding, distracting. So we do it for a day, a week, a month. Now it's a habit. A year, 10 years, 20 years. And I can see someone 20 years later and say, that emotional eating you're doing or that drinking, do you think that has anything to do with your betrayal? And they'd look at me like I'm crazy. See, it happened 20 years ago. All they did was put themselves in stage 3 and stay there. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, it absolutely does. It's really sad, you know, thinking about how many people may be stuck in that survival mode and just trying to get through each day. And that's all the bandwidth they have, especially because they don't know about those next stages after that, you know, stage 4 and stage 5.
Yeah. And that's why I wrote Unstuck, because I want practitioners to know there's a language for each stage. So like, here's a classic example. Let's say there's a business coach and a betrayal happened 20 years ago. And so, but they're coming to this business coach for confidence, let's say, and their confidence was shattered in the betrayal. But the business coach says, okay, well, I just have to work on confidence with them. So I'm going to give them mindset tools and all this stuff. And the client gets to the point where they're like, you know, I think I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good. So they end the coaching relationship. Now they've both done a huge disservice for one another because the coach doesn't know about betrayal and knowing the 5 stages. So that person was in stage 3 and they let them go. They don't have the benefit of the transformation that's waiting for their client in stages 4 and 5. And then as far as a business building opportunity, when you let a client go in stage 3, they can say, you know, that coach was good, helped me a little bit. But when you've moved them through transformation, can you imagine the referrals and testimonials you get then? For the client, they're like, I guess I'm fine. And maybe this is as good as it gets. And then they bounce around from coach to counselor to therapist because they don't know there's anything better than fine.
Yeah. Well, and they don't know what they need, you know, either. Like they don't know what it is they're missing. So they're guessing, okay, maybe I'm not missing anything and it's just me, and this is just life and I just need to kind of accept that, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, you're so right. And with these incredible coaches and therapists and counselors, they have great tools, but the tools at the wrong stage backfire every single time. Like when someone's in shock and trauma, they need nervous system regulation. They don't need, strategy, right? So it all depends on the stage.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they're not able to implement strategy at that point. They're just surviving.
Not at all. But when that person understands the 5 stages and they hear the language of it, they see the symptoms, the client says, okay, this person knows what's going on with me. Even like I said, even if it happened 20 years ago, they know what I need. And then the counselor, the coach, the therapist knows the tools to use at the appropriate times to have, to move them gently from one stage to the next.
They can recognize where they're truly at, not just what happened to them. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I even wrote the scripts of like, when someone says a certain thing, what do you know what stage they're in, what would you say, and all of it. Anyway, when someone is willing, willingness is a big word right here, willing to let go of the story, all it gave them, takes a lot of courage as well. They can move to stage 4. Stage 4 is finding and adjusting to a new normal. So here's where you acknowledge, I can't undo what happened, but I control what I do with it. Right there in that decision, you're turning down the stress response. You're not healing just yet, but you just stopped the massive damage that was going on in stages 2 and stage 3. Stage 4 feels like if you've ever moved to a new house, office, condo, whatever, your stuff's not there, it's not quite cozy yet, but it's this sort of hopeful excitement, like, yeah, we got this. But think about it. If you were to move, you don't take everything with you. You don't take those things that don't represent who you're now ready to become. And what I found was there's one spot as people go from stage 3 to stage 4. If your friends weren't there for you, they're not coming. That lame support group, you're done. That well-meaning, well-intentioned therapist who doesn't understand betrayal, that's keeping you stuck, right? You're done. The betrayer who's not changing, you're done. And people say to me all the time, what the heck, is it me? Yes, it is. You're undergoing a transformation, and if they don't rise, they don't come along. So it's a very personal time, but very transformational. Anyway, when we've settled into this space, we've made it cozy, we've made it kind of mentally home, we move into the 5th most beautiful stage. And this is healing, rebirth, and a new worldview. The body starts to heal. Self-love, self-care, eating well, exercise. We couldn't do that earlier. We didn't have the bandwidth. Now we do. The mind is healing. We're making all kinds of new rules, new boundaries. And we have a whole new worldview based on everything we see so clearly now. And the 4 legs of that table, in the beginning, it was all about the physical and the mental. By this point, we're solidly grounded because we're focused on the emotional and the spiritual too. Those are the 5 stages.
Golly, that's awesome. I'm going to check the chat and see if anyone.
Yeah.
Keyword trust. We're seeing a lot of trust. A lot of people are really resonating with what we have. Healthy boundaries have to be set. For me, it's getting folks to respect my It's not getting folks to respect my boundaries. It's me setting the boundaries. That's hard. It's hard.
It's hard to do because everybody sort of knew what to expect at a certain place, and setting boundaries, that's one of the things that could really, there are many things you need to do to leave stage 3 and enter into stage 4, but you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. That's one of the biggest differentiators, because boundaries are uncomfortable because people look at you like, what? Where'd that come from? And you have to be willing to withstand he used to be like that. He never used to be like that. Right? And it's uncomfortable. So because of the discomfort, we often sabotage ourselves because we don't want to make a scene. We don't want to create this discomfort. But, when it comes to betrayal, you are deliberately rebuilding a version of yourself where you're taking all the parts you love and you're leaving behind what no longer serves. So you want to look at it when a thought comes in your head and that it is time to institute that boundary, and where you're about to be like, whatever. No. You want to look and say, did the old me let that go? And did the old me settle? And did the old me tolerate what I shouldn't have? The new me I'm creating doesn't do that anymore. So it's very different.
Yeah.
As we're creating this new version of ourselves, it is uncomfortable, but that's where growth is.
That's where the growth is. And it really is creating a new version of yourself. It's creating a new identity for yourself, right? And how you interact with the world and how you'll allow the world to interact with you. And those boundaries, are consistent. And then but also I was thinking of whenever you were talking is it goes back to that intuition that we tend to suppress. We tend to suppress that intuition with setting boundaries a lot of the time, right? We're like, no, it's fine. Yeah.
And it's really, it's a time also where in this rebuild, you're like, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a little thing where it's like let's say, like I never liked scary movies because I'm a highly sensitive empath, so I feel everything. I feel what everybody's feeling. And I would watch them because, I didn't want to make a big deal or whatever. But then I realized, and this is all after my betrayal, I was like, you know what? That doesn't work for me anymore. So I'm not going to stop everybody from going to the scary movie, but I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
And it could be in a lighthearted way too. Like, here's a super silly example, but I was so hard on myself. I would call myself names if I did things wrong. Like, I get lost wherever I go. I just do. It's just what's going to happen. So I know to leave extra time because there's a really good chance I'm going to get off on the wrong road. Okay. And I used to be so critical and just so hard on myself. And I decided after my betrayal, there's a really good chance I'm going to still do those same things. But instead of me calling myself all those names, I'm just adorable.
I love that. So it's an endearing quality. Yeah.
That's it. It's like, I'm still doing the same things, but now they're just simply adorable. And everybody's got to go along with it too. So that's the beauty of it. You get to decide who you want to become.
I love that. And I think, I don't know, this is just an idea that's kind of coming to mind. I'm curious if people I know that they do, but I'm curious how it fits in, tending to kind of jump to conclusions and creating a narrative of the worst possible situation or, in their mind with others and how others think about them. That was kind of coming to mind when you were talking about getting lost everywhere and calling yourself all of these names. But even with regard to how others see you, is that transformed in this process as well?
That is actually an unhealed, one of the classic signs of an unhealed betrayal is a repeat betrayal. So what you're saying, what you've just shared, sounds to me like that was brought back from something prior. And that's the perception. So they're just bringing that into the future relationships.
Into the future.
Right. And it could have been from a betrayal. Here's what's even crazier. And this is why most people live this stage 3 life. It could be from a misperception. Like, imagine you're a little kid and let's say you have some earth-shattering news to share with your mom. And she's in the kitchen and she's on the phone and she shushes you. Shh, right? Because she's on a call. No big deal. She loves you. She's on a call. You could have right in that moment interpreted that to mean I don't matter. Now, what we feed grows. So now you have this I don't matter idea going on. And now what the mind does, it looks for confirming evidence to support the belief I don't matter. So now someone accidentally, closes a door on you. Someone cuts you off in traffic. So, and it's all confirming I don't matter. I don't matter. Yeah. Now that you believe you don't matter, think about the work you'll do, the things you'll pass on, who you'll date, whatever, because you had this idea in your mind that you don't matter from the most innocent shushing.
Yeah.
Do you see how this?
Golly, that's wild how we shape that worldview and our perception and our identity from it. So would somebody with something even like that benefit from going through this process of healing, or is that something else?
No, it's because if you're living in stage 3, and you're in stage 3 if you're fine. Fine is classic stage 3. Where it's like I want you to look at it like, let's say there's a meter, 0 to 100. Fine is 50%, and that represents, I have a job. My kids, aren't in trouble. I can button my pants. It's like, what? Like, why is that the goal? I want fine to be your new starting point where, where's living full out? Where's like living in a body you love? Where's relationships that, inspire you? Where's work that you love? All of that. That's on the other side of fine. So for anybody, if you're living in fine, that's stage 3.
Wow.
And here's the thing, when you're in stage 3, you don't have access to the thoughts, the ideas, the relationships, the concepts that are waiting for you in stages 4 and 5.
Just waiting for you. Can I tell you a really silly example that I'm thinking of? I have 3 kids, and our oldest went through a huge Trolls phase. Have you seen the Trolls movies? The little, is it DreamWorks Trolls movies? It came out and
with the blue, they have the blue thing on.
Yeah, they were like toys in the 90s, but now there's movies about them.
Okay.
And so the bad guys in Trolls, okay, hit me up in the chat if you guys have seen Trolls, please. You need to go watch it. It's really cute and they have fun music. But the bad guys, quote unquote, in the movie are the Bergen, and they're all gray and dreary, and they go around hitting themselves in the face with fly swatters and just grumpy. And the only way they can experience happiness is by eating a troll. And the trolls are happy and peppy and they sing and dance everywhere. And so like at the end of the story, the Bergen realized that happiness is inside of all of them. They just didn't know, they weren't aware of it. So I feel like the stage 3 that you're explaining is like the little Bergen in the Trolls movie, and then stage 5 is like the trolls, like the maximum happiness part.
Exactly.
So.
And it's not reserved for just some people. It doesn't choose, age or status or no, it's just the worst of it happened already. You owe it to yourself to move out of stage 3 into stages 4 and 5. And you know what it's like? I'm big on the visuals. So imagine there's like this beautiful place you want to swim to, and you go halfway and you're like, you know what? It's too far. And you go back. And then you're like, let me try again. And you go, and then you go halfway and you go back. And you're doing that. And meanwhile, if you would have kept going, you would have gotten to that beautiful place you wanted to get to. Right? But it's unfamiliar. And that's the thing. So many people stay with the known familiar. It's not good. It's only familiar. But if you think about it, there's like a million things that everybody does that at one point was unfamiliar. And then it became familiar. And now that's just what you do. Same thing here. If you can get over the idea that it's just unfamiliar and move into, a new space that you just haven't met up with yet, your best you is waiting there for you.
Yeah. Well,
like, what you get in this stage, what could you get?
What could you get? And to something you said at the very beginning of this call, and something you said when we talked, a few weeks ago, the process is predictable. So it's not like it's unknown to everyone. It's just unknown to you. So you just have to follow these steps, and the process is predictable, it sounds like. Is that correct?
Exactly. I mean, this was the research. Not only, it's wonderful that I moved through it, that all of our certified PBT coaches and practitioners move through it, that their clients move through it, but this is what the research proved.
Yeah.
And even I was the guinea pig as I was doing the research. If it worked, I tried it. If it didn't, I didn't. And that was one of the reasons why I healed as quickly as I did. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's one of the hardest and one of the most transformative things you'll ever do.
Wow. Can you tell us a little more details about the research study that you did, like number of people involved and how you did the study and all of the little more nitty gritty details of that?
Yeah, sure. So, I wanted, I didn't want to do like just a very broad, shallow study. I wanted the deeply lived experience. Well, first, when you're doing a study, you have to find what hasn't been studied. And there was betrayal. Betrayal was studied. And I really liked the idea of post-traumatic growth, like sort of the upside of trauma, how whatever the trauma is, leaves you with a new awareness, insight, perspective you didn't have. So originally I was studying betrayal and post-traumatic growth, having no idea what I was going to find. But I wanted that deeply, deeply lived experience. So it was a narrower study where, I had hours and hours with the population I was studying, and to know the before, the during, the after, the symptoms, the everything. So it was called a narrative study because it's this deeply, deeply lived experiential way to look at something. When the post-betrayal syndrome symptoms all showed up, that's when I created the post-betrayal syndrome assessment, and that's been done by over 100,000 people.
Wow. That's powerful. So talking about the assessment, let's talk a little bit about resources. Is that assessment available for people to use? Do they find it in your books? Like, how can people get their hands on this?
Yeah, the best thing now is, I mean, everything's at the PBT, the PBTinstitute.com. The PBT is in Post Betrayal Transformation. But really in Unstuck, my newest book, which is in pre-launch right now, we have all these amazing bonuses that expire soon. So that's at thepbtinstitute.com/unstuck. This is really for the practitioner. But what I'm hearing is people who've been betrayed are taking the book, getting the book for their coach, their counselor, their therapist. So their great tools just work so much more effectively. Because it's not that they're bad or wrong. They just were never taught the 5 stages. They weren't taught the 4 types of trust that chatter. They weren't taught post-betrayal syndrome. So it's new information.
It's new
for them. But everything is on the site.
Awesome. Yeah. So we'll definitely make sure we drop that in the chat. I think we may already have it in the description for people to go take a look at. How new is this? How long has the assessment and post-betrayal transformation been around for? How new is this information?
Great question. So my betrayal happened the very end of 2015. By 2016, January 2016, I was enrolled in the PhD program. The discovery showed up in 2018. And I was like, I need a whole institute, all the things. When the 5 stages showed up, I'm like, I have to put this in a program. Yeah. And it blew up. And then everyone wanted, to work with me. And then I was like, how do I leverage that? I created our certification program. And for some reason, I thought we needed like a real live physical institute space, which was beautiful. But even the local people wanted to be online. So I would say and now we're fully online. So it's really, and we're global. We have coaches from all over the world. Since 2018. And just to close the loop on my story, because people are always curious. So for those, the curious minds, healing and rebuilding is always a choice, whether you rebuild yourself and move along. And that's what I did with my family. Wasn't an option to heal with them. Or if the situation lends itself, if you're willing, if you want to, you can rebuild something from the ground up new with the person who hurt you. And that's what I did with my husband. So as 2 completely transformed people not long ago, we married each other again. New rings, new vows, new dress, and our 4 kids is our bridal party.
Amazing.
It's beautiful.
That is.
It's I married him when I was in stage 5, and he crashed and burned and rebuilt himself. I'll show you something. Can you see my hands? I'm going to show you something.
I can. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what people typically do. They're here, they have a betrayal, it's terrible, they're so upset, they're so hurt, oh my gosh, this is so painful. So they just go back to that person or someone new. Mm-hmm. And they're living this, right? And nothing has really changed, so nothing has really changed. Here's the invitation. Instead of doing this, what you want to do is get out of stage, the shock and trauma of 2, out of the safety of stage 3 into stages 4 and 5. But if you're so committed to this person, you know what you're going to do? You're going to keep sabotaging yourself because you're afraid to outgrow them. Right. But you like it here. And then you're like, why can't they do this? You didn't sign up for that. So what's going to happen is if you're so committed to this person and you start doing this, you're going to get like this. Like, it's like, ooh, I don't really like that.
Yeah.
So eventually you get this. So here's the invitation. You do this without having any idea of what this person is going to do. This person may say on their own, I better step up my game to meet the strength of this person. This is a 2.0 relationship right up here. You see the difference?
Yep.
And if this person is unwilling, incapable, and this is where you live, this can't help but show up.
Yeah.
You see?
I love that.
2.0. That's cool.
That's it.
Yeah. 2.0. I think there's a lot to be said about that, even just in outside of betrayal with relationships, I think, like in marriage. So I've been married since 2013, however many years that is, always wanting to improve, and grow in our marriage. And so I read marriage books and relationship books, parenting books, and all of that. And something I hear a lot, and that I've thought before too, and it's been proven wrong, is waiting for the other person to initiate change in a relationship and thinking, well, I know he's not going to do anything, so why bother, with me too? And that's so powerful of when you grow and you start to work to transform yourself, they will rise, to meet that eventually.
And maybe not. And that's the chance. But so many people are so afraid of that death and destruction of the old. But that's the only way you rebuild the new. I have this, I did 2 TEDx talks, and I talk about this. I believe it's in the second one. Do you have post-betrayal syndrome? And I talk about the old house. And this is the difference between resilience and trauma and transformation. So let's say there's an old house, and let's say you paint the house, right? That's resilience, right? You're bringing it back, you're restoring it. Or let's say you need a new roof. You get a new roof. That's resilience. You're restoring it. Here's trauma and transformation. A tornado comes by and levels the house, right? A new, paint job's not fixing it. A new roof's not fixing it. And you have every right to stand there at the lot where your house once stood and say, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing. You'd be right. You can call all of your friends over and say, isn't this the most terrible thing you've ever seen? They'd all agree. And you can mourn the loss of your house until your last breath. No one can fault you for it, right? But however, should you choose to rebuild the house, you don't have to. Why would you build the same one? You see, there's nothing there. Why not give it everything the old house didn't have? Yeah. Why not make it better and more beautiful? That's the opportunity.
Extra closet space, says the mom of 3.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I have 4 kids, and I remember how much stuff.
So much stuff. I'm like, can we just get an extra closet?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a really great picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you do that, that's trauma well served.
Yeah, that is trauma well served. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. I have a quick question, just sitting on the sideline. So, doctor, how long have you seen people typically? I remember hearing you say some stay stuck for years, just in stage 3. Mm-hmm. What is sort of the average time frame that you've seen people, move along from 3 to 4?
Yeah, it's a great question. It has more to do with willingness than time. You just reminded me of a story. There was a man in our program, and his betrayal happened 40 years ago. He was so deeply stuck in stage 3, and logic has nothing to do with healing. But in this case, I'm like, we need to bring out the logic. So I said to him, do you have your phone? So we're on a call one day, and I said, do you have a calculator, your phone with you? He's like, yeah, sure. Why? And I said, okay, we're going to do some math. I said, how long ago did your betrayal happen? He said, 40 years ago. Okay. How many times a day do you think about it? I don't know, 10. How long do you think about it each one of those times? I don't know, 20 minutes. Okay. Have you ever come out of it with any insight, nugget of wisdom, anything useful? No. Okay, let's do some math now. Now, I am no mathematician, but he did the numbers, and it added up to something like 5 years.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, so essentially, you went into a cave for 5 years. You're only older, more sick, symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome, not one nugget of anything useful. And if nothing changes, you essentially really could go another, 40 years doing the same thing. So that's what happens. So if we get so wired and so rooted in this way, and then think about it, you go to, again, well-meaning, well-intentioned therapists, and you're like, this is what's going on. And then tell me about it. So you're feeling heard and validated and understood. And here another year goes by. And you're like, what?
You're just repeating
and that's why it's so interesting, because when I'm certifying coaches and practitioners, the therapists are the hardest to certify. And I love it, because my model is, I don't care if someone moves 1 degree, 5 degrees, every single session you are moving them towards the next stage, period. And that's something that's just not taught, or not, it's more of a coaching model than like a therapy model. So it's it's definitely a new methodology for therapists.
I'll say.
But they love it. When they get it, then they feel like, okay, I have the tools, I have the strategy, I can truly take that client, that patient through that transformation.
And they probably feel more successful in their work, seeing their patients actually getting better instead of just listening to their story over and over and over again, kind of talking in circles. So,
and it's, and I write a few stories about that in Unstuck, because these are really talented experts, and they're using their best tools, and it's like, I don't even understand it. So then what happens is they take another training, they think they're inadequate, or when they sense a client like this, like they don't want to see this client,
they don't want to take them on.
They don't want to take them on. And so they're missing out on the transformation. They're missing out on the income. They're missing out on the benefit of seeing this person through the hardest thing that they've been through. When they have the framework, though, then they love it because they know what to say and when. And it's a beautiful dance they do together.
That's awesome. They have the tools to help.
Yeah.
So Dr. Debi, people who are listening to our live, what is, one or two things that they can do today if they suspect that they're suffering from post-betrayal syndrome? What can they do today, like to help start that journey?
Yeah, well, this is going to sound odd, but the first thing is, if you have to say it a million times, it's worth it. Even though it happened to you, it's not about you. So if you've been thinking this has anything to do with you, you really have to stop that. I have worked with hundreds of betrayers, and time again, they're like, it had nothing to do with my partner. It was their lack, their scarcity, their this, their that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I want you to really take note of what's the price you're paying. What is the price you're paying? And, if you have kids, I'm going to lay it on thick right here. What's the price your kids are paying by you staying stuck?
That's true.
Yeah. Ouch. And to make it even worse, if your child was going through the same thing, what would you tell them?
I love that. Yep.
We have the answers. We're super clear when it comes to those we love.
Yeah. I did a mindset coaching program a few years ago, and that was actually an activity that you had to do. It was like, think about the negative dialogue in your head all the time and go into a room by yourself and say it out loud, but say it with the person's name who you love most in this life. And I couldn't say the words, that I say to my own self all the time. So it's pretty, that's really helpful.
It's powerful.
Thank you. Well, good. Okay. So the pbtinstitute.com is your website, and we can stick it into the chat here, and we're going to put it in the description as well, right, Kevin, if it's not already there. And then I want to spend a little bit of time for questions, because I know we've had quite a few in here, and I want to be respectful of your time. Okay. So someone says no is a complete sentence. Let's see here. Inner addiction for certain people. Yeah. Okay.
Addiction's huge. Addiction is also a reason why very often the betrayed excuses the betrayer. Well, they're an addict. Well, this and that. Well, that means they need help. Yes. And that doesn't excuse the behavior.
That doesn't.
And let's just be clear. This is not a mistake. It's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. That's a good reminder, to not make those excuses. Another question, how can we identify symptoms within ourselves that might be related to unresolved betrayal?
That's a good one, because I feel like I've been getting diagnosed as I've been listening to this interview.
Yeah, first of all, if you have any of these symptoms that I mentioned, trace it back. Could this be from something that was a betrayal, a death by 1,000 cuts kind of betrayal? So maybe a micro betrayal, all different kinds. But if and assess like yourself, are you fine? Are you numbing, avoiding, distracting? Did I mention, I don't remember if I mentioned the 3 groups that didn't heal?
No, you didn't.
Okay. So see if you're in one of these groups. There were 3 groups that didn't heal. The first, they were numbing, avoiding, distracting. They went to the doctor who put them on a mood stabilizer, anti-anxiety med, whatever. They were emotionally eating, whatever they were doing. It made the day a bit easier to get through, not without a price that didn't heal. The second group, this was the group, they had their story, they were sticking with it, deeply, deeply rooted in stage 3. They couldn't imagine life without that story.
Yeah, it became their identity.
That's it. It totally became their identity. The third group, this was the group where the betrayer had very little consequences, whether it was out of financial fear, not wanting to break up a family, religious reasons, whatever it was. They did all they could to look the other way, turn the other cheek. I saw 2 things with this group. Number 1, a further deterioration of that relationship. And 2, this group was by far the most physically sick. Wow. The broken heart can't handle that.
Yeah,
wow.
It can't. I have a question too. So a few weeks ago, Jose, who's the physical therapist and has the Baseball Strong show on Tuesday nights here, was talking about at some point after an injury needing to move, or else you get more injured, right? So, you hurt your knee, so then you're sitting around and walking funny, then your hip starts hurting because you're walking funny. But there is a period of that like acute phase where you do need to rest and ice and all of that. After betrayal, I'm sure, stage 3 is stage 3. Everyone has to go through it. It's there for a reason. At what point, what are some signs that somebody may be ready to move out of that into stage 4?
Great question.
Yeah, great question. Well, stage 2 shock trauma, you need, it may just be getting out of bed is all you can do that day, right? So that's the shock and trauma. There's so much to that. And we need to be so kind and so gentle to ourselves as we're in stage 2. In stage 3, here's the thing, we're building a functional life. We're putting, the ground has, the bottom has bottomed out on us. So we're sort of building a new bottom upon which to stand. We have no sense of safety and security. So we're building that. We're getting back to steady ground again. So there's, and just feeling that we can function. That's really important. But if you notice, if you're keeping people at a distance, if you're unwilling to trust, if you're fine, look at the price you're paying for that and just consider, is there something beyond fine? Is there something you're willing to slowly just dip your toe in to see, could there be more? Could I test out vulnerability just a little bit and see how I do? Could I start to rebuild self-trust so I feel confident in myself that I have my own back? Things you need to do, and then you'll naturally just leave stage 3 and enter into stage 4.
Yeah. So rebuilding that own personal trust and identity, your own house, like you said, and then it just starts to naturally go. Wow.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We did drop your website in the live chat here, and then we will make sure it stays around. I'm going to go immediately to the pbtinstitute.com/unstuck and order the book. Because
the bonuses are so great. I made a mistake, I'll be honest. I was supposed to, because I have all the bonuses, and we were supposed to be in pre-launch where you get the bonuses, but you don't get the book yet. I clicked a couple of wrong buttons. So if you get it, you do get the book now and the bonuses. Just the audiobook isn't ready just yet. It's all done. I recorded it. It's being processed, but up until, I believe it's March 22nd, because it's my birthday. That's when you can get the bonuses but you get the book as well. Right now we have hardcover, softcover, Kindle. Audio will be released soon.
Amazing. I'm a fellow Aries as well. March 22nd is Aries, right? I'm the 27th. Yeah. Our birthdays are just a few days apart. Well, good. Well, gosh, thank you so much for your time, your wisdom, your passion and energy. I think everyone has really enjoyed this time.
Absolutely.
I sure have. And I've learned a lot, and I love learning. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I do have another question. So if I'm putting you on the spot, tell me.
You got it. Go ahead.
So I was at a conference today for nutrition entrepreneurs, part of the Academy's thing. And they had, what's her name? Laurel Mellon, who does emotional behavioral therapy, EBT. And she has the 5 levels of stress and all of that. And some of what you're saying seems like people, especially in that stage 3, that could be a micro way of helping them while they're there. I don't know. Have you heard of EBT or emotional behavioral therapy?
I haven't, but anybody in the health, the somatic fields, our certification is so complementary to what they're doing, because there's a really good chance the emotional eating is happening because of the betrayal. Yeah. So it's like good chance that, that's why I work with, let's say, gut experts. The gut issue is because of the betrayal, or someone's having anxiety. Well, the anxiety is symptoms of post-betrayal syndrome from a betrayal. So what we're doing is just completely complementary. And it's also, I have to say, it became the #1 betrayal recovery certification for life, business, health, and leadership coaches. So we're really proud of that.
That's powerful. It's not just about the food, folks. It's not just about that.
That is true.
We are mind, body, spirit, relationships, systems of systems of systems that all interact and feed off of each other.
Well said.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I don't want to keep you any longer than what we asked you to stay here. I know you're very busy. But everyone, reach out to Dr. Debi if y'all have any questions. Go order her books. Go pre-order or purchase with the bonuses Unstuck, and take it to your pain doc or your PCP or your therapist and ask them if they've read it. Because this is really important information. It's new information. We know it takes a long time for the medical community to catch up to the research. And so thank you guys for helping us. Please don't forget to hit the thumbs up here. Go subscribe to our channel. It helps us get the words out better. And if you know somebody who you feel has suffered a betrayal and is stuck or dealing with this post-betrayal syndrome, please share this episode with them so that they can get the help and resources and tools that they need to heal. So that is all for tonight. Do you have anything else, Dr. Debi?
No, I just, I would end with this. I know how painful it is. I've been through it. I also know how great it feels to heal. You've been through the worst of it already. I didn't do anything you couldn't do. There wasn't a roadmap. There is now.
Wonderful. What better words to end with? It gets better, guys. It gets better. And there's a rainbow at the end of that tunnel, not just a light. So
it gets really fun. I have to say, we are having more fun now as a completely rebuilt family than before. It's like we've all been through war together, and we're really celebrating.
The relationships are even sweeter.
Having a great time.
Oh, I love that. Gosh, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story too.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And we'll see y'all next Wednesday at 7 Central for the Nourished and Thriving Show. Thank you again so much for your time and wisdom and knowledge, Dr. Debi. We really appreciate you. And we will talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
I was trying to tell you to tell